So,
Right. This is too bright, right?
a little bit. It looks like you're already enlightened. So it might work. Hi. Okay, does it work? Okay.
Yeah.
All
You have a
right,
better
thank
camera. I need to get a camera for my laptop.
Well, it's all good. So good seeing you, and thank you for taking the time being here. All right. So, what I would actually like to do is if you're interested, kind of make it like a little bit as a like a podcast. So in terms of like asking you questions, because one thing I realized is watching your videos, I sometimes have like really questions, and I think your community literally just loves your thoughts, how you think. And if you're open to it, I would just really like to ask some questions. If you don't want to answer, you don't. But if you just want to share because it might be specific, feel free to do so. How do you feel about that?
Let's dig in. Let's see what's on your mind.
Okay. Okay, the first one, that was the reason why I reached out. It was regarding manifestation. And so I watched your videos 2 days ago about how to manifest, so tune into the energy, etc. And I realized, all right, there's something I tried to manifest for quite a long time. It hasn't happened yet. And so I wondered, okay, why hasn't it come to fruition? And it seemed to me because there's resistance. I suppose I have resistance, which is probably holding me back from manifesting what I actually want. So I was curious because it seems that you have these incredible synchronicities. How do how does one overcome the resistance which is holding one back from manifesting what we actually want?
Preface this by a basic understanding of the fact that humans, or us, the I amness of our existence, lives in three different bodies, three different jars. So we have three different layers. So the layer that you see is can do things matter to matter, right? Then there's the astral body that we can use when we dream. So when you dream, generally speaking, you're not in control of it. But then there's different layers of the astral body that you can use. So if you're lucid dreaming, you can manifest things instantly. You can fly, you can do whatever you want. So that is you're getting higher and higher into the astral body, and you leave the lower form that you can see right here. So astral, you can manifest things way faster. And then there's the causal body, which is the closest to source. And how do you use that form of your existence? That is the form of deep introspection and deep meditative states. So there's three ways to look at that. We have access to all three bodies of us. And beyond causal is when you just become source, when you just melt into everything. And you can experience all three of these layers, but in order to manifest, you need the astral body, use of astral tools and causal tools. And one of the reasons why meditation and breath work is so important is because you can instantly jump into astral and causal bodies where thoughts become things. And causal is when you can you get very close to stepping outside of space-time. And the longer you do this work, the better it gets. And the more you make changes and experiment with astral body and causal body, the closer and closer to completely outside of space-time, the more you make changes to this holographic dream body, right? We are a manifestation of the God's dream, essentially. And yeah, so when Dr. Joe, for example, talks about stepping outside of space-time, you are then even stepping further out of the causal body where the I amness disappears. So the more, this might have been too technical here, but so when you become a lucid dreamer, you can make changes to your body. When you go into meditations, you can make changes to your fields, energy, and energy affects your matter. Now, looping all of this back to your basic questions of manifestations and intentions is there are a couple different steps of it. Number one, you think of it. Number two, you stay in that feeling of emotional elevated state of being. And when you get into that state of being, you must let go of the intention. You must let go of the idea of the manifestation. And
Okay,
which is such a contradictory thing to say, because if you're thinking about it, if you want it, if you desire it, that creates energetic space between you and what you want. It also pushes away the possible synchronicities or any coincidences that will bring that your desired to you. So, and a lot of people talk about this. If you already think that you have it, you wouldn't desire it, you wouldn't want it, you wouldn't look for it. Especially when people complain. See, words are so important because they create vibrations. You know, when people say, I'm sick and I'm doing this and it's not working, you're affirming it. The only thing you need to do is affirm. The moment you feel really good, affirm that. The moment you get this, so see, this is such a broad question that I'm just jumping here and there. When you
feel free to specify it in any way that you prefer, by the way. That was really a broad question, I know.
So when you have an intention, you have to then look for clues in your hologram to affirm that, oh yeah, that's happening. For example, if you want a particular car, you might start to notice a specific color. If you want a car, you pay more attention to cars when you drive outside, right? And you start to pick colors. Oh, I would like this color. I would like that color. Or this is the car I would rather have. So, but then you would be affirming it. You wouldn't be like, oh, I want that. No, you would say, I'll take that. This is just the universe giving me a hint. What do you want? Look at all this stuff on the shelf. Which would you like to have? So you point at it. You just thank yourself. You just thank the Lord for it, and you just keep moving, and you just keep moving. See, what people don't understand is they come to this work from a space of either desperation or extreme lack. So they have this sense of urgency that I need it now. I have people that are sending me emails asking me how many meditations until I do get my $1 million. Really? So when you do this work and you're affirming these little hints in your hologram, right? Because most things in your hologram that you see out in the world are all your creation, except it was all done through a subconscious state of being that you carry, your energetic projection of this reality. So when you pick and choose, what then starts to happen is that you get higher and higher into your perceived reality. You get closer and closer to the ceiling that you have. Like if you can think only this much, right? And you get closer to the highest vibration of your perceived reality, that ceiling will move up, giving you more and more visibility into the expansion of unfolding of the truth of your reality. So you start to see things from a higher frequency, higher vibration, and then you're always getting closer and closer to that frequency. A couple things happen when you are in this evolutionarily journey. Are breaking the bonds with your past karma, and you are breaking the bonds with your anxiety of the future. So you are no longer stretching yourself thin by having attached energies to people and things and trauma and breakups and bad friendships and betrayals. You bring all of that into your field. When you bring that to your field, the gaps and patterns into your field close in. So now you have this energetic protection. And then the longer you go higher and higher into frequency, your field expands, it gets thicker, right? So now you have a lot of energy. So what you're doing is you're getting closer into your astral body. You're slowly shedding the matter and getting more into your energetic form, which is, so your astral body is still a dense body. It's still, the I amness is still there, except you are way less matter and way more energy. And the more energy you become and the less matter you become, So the faster you can manifest things. In astral body, you can do it almost instantly. Where in a causal body, you can do it even faster. You can travel across galaxies. You can do all these things. And in astral, it's still limited, but you can do it in fast. See, I try not to talk about these things on YouTube because it sounds too woo-woo for people that don't do the work. But most things are in set of threes in our existence. And I'm telling you, the second and third body is where the manifestations and intentions happen the fastest. In the holographic body, the only option we have is changing matter to matter.
Okay. That's very interesting. Okay. I would like to ask a very specific question straight away, because I was at a point regarding the manifestation where I thought, well, actually, there's a reason why I'm not manifesting it, which was I'm going to make it super tangible. I wanted to manifest a certain amount of money. And then I realized, I think I have a blockage, which would simply be, I actually do not want it, or I think I'm not worthy of it. So I just realized there was this, I became conscious of this active blockage, which was holding me back from actually getting it, because subconsciously I did not want it. So my question is, how important is it to become conscious of these blockages, or can we just let them go? Because Abraham Hicks also talks about don't focus on the unwanted. So how important is it to become conscious of the blockages? Like, should we dedicate ourselves time to become conscious of them? Or is there a practice where you say it's actually not even necessary? Because when you do a certain work, you automatically shed off the blockage in itself.
Well, the important part is to be conscious, period. Not of anything, but of everything.
I think that was too deep for me, if I'm honest. It was so simple. I think I didn't really get it. Please
elaborate. So let's say, what is the first step what is the first thing to do when you get on this work? When you start meditating, when you start doing yoga, when you become aware of the fact that you have these chakras and you need to liberate energy, you need to free yourself from all the programming that was not in your control. You were a kid. And I'm not going to talk about past lives or future lives. That's too woo-woo for most people. But
can you please make this like a separate part in the second part of a conversation? Because I actually love talking about that. It's about timelines at the end of the day. But please go on.
I'm happy more people are meditating enough that they're expanding their minds enough that they can entertain ideas that might be too deep, too weird for them, but they still listen and entertain those ideas. So the first thing that you need to do is get away from this. Most people live unconscious lives, right? They're just set of programs. So most people, when they do the same thing over and over again, you wake up, you shower, you eat, you dress your kids, you drop them to school, you go to work, same thing happens at work, then you come home and then you eat and you go to sleep. So if you do that over and over again, it's almost as if your soul just goes to sleep and you become way more matter and you're just this autopilot running your program. So most people live like that. So you're constantly turning your past into the future, your past into the future. And we are designed that way in this simulation to conserve energy. So if you're always conscious, you're using a lot of energy. And so we then program ourselves so that if you drive for 10 years, you sometimes get to your destination and you don't even realize that you were driving. You just get there. And you're like, whoa, I didn't realize 2 hours went by. And you were just somewhere else. Where were you? You were utilizing your other things. You were dreaming, you were daydreaming, whatever you're doing. And every time you're dreaming, you're in your astral body, which is not a bad thing. But most of the time when we're in our astral body or we're dreaming, that is also running on an autopilot because we're not controlling our dreams most of the times, right?
Now we're talking about intention in the astral body.
Yeah, and once you have an intention in the astral body and you're lucid dreaming and you're actively controlling your visualizations, you are now evolving to turn to use your astral body in your favor for you to have certain experiences that you want. But conscious is the first part. So you're conscious of everything. So when you get conscious of this low vibrational energy, low vibrational feelings, anything that doesn't feel good, you must not affirm and you must not talk about. So let's say you're sad, or let's say you're ill, you need some healing, and you don't call the person that you always call to whine about it. Don't do that. You should talk about what you would do when you're healed. You should talk about what you would be like, what your life would be like when you're healed. So you're still talking about the fact that you're not healed, but you're doing it in a constructive way. You're doing it in a way where you're moving your energy to a more positive, higher feeling state of being. And you do that enough times, you start to feel really good, because your visualization starts to expand about the things you would do, the places you would visit, the people you would go with. Once you're healed, once you have the money too. So when you have the money, where would you go? Oh, the retreats and the friends that are abroad and you would like to meet, all these things that you would do. So now you are affirming a potential future that you actually want to realize through your words, visualizations, and subsequently it gives you a good feeling. It creates this beautiful combo of your future state of being. And the longer you maintain that state, and the more conscious you are of that, all the bad feelings and the bad emotions and the bad karma and the bad energetic bonds just fades away, because you're not giving it attention. Anything you remove attention for fades away into the ether again. And you are constantly focused on and affirming something that is in the ether, because if you can think of it, it exists. If you can feel it, it's there. And feeling brings possibilities from energy to matter. So people that materialize things, they can do this instantly because of how expansive their trained minds and bodies and energetic things that they have, right? They have this extreme focus towards things, which can only come from very deep meditations.
Okay. You kind of nearly answered the question, but I really would like to make this specific because I find it very interesting. Over the last, let's say, weeks, I also looked into different traditions, like some go into rituals or looking back into past lives, and I have that feeling. So that some, I don't know what's the best word, it's not new age, but some alternative routes, they really focus on, okay, what is the transgenerational trauma, what went all the people generations before me through, and who focus with the practices that they have on healing the pain of the past. And it seems to me that you're telling me with this work, it would not be necessary to focus on healing the past, because you practically heal the past as a result of simply creating the healed future.
Yes, this healing the past happens as a consequence.
Okay.
So if we're focused only on the matter body, if we're focused only on the most dense part of the holographic body, then we have genes, genetics. There have been people who procreated for hundreds of thousands of years. So we have certain things that we inherited, right? Certain traumas, certain things that we inherited, the way we look, our DNA, diseases, whatever it is. But when we do this work, we change the way our DNA operates. See, Greg Braden talks about the fact that every DNA and every nerve is a soft antenna. And he's doing this research with people, and he's realizing that information is not stored in our body, it's stored into the field, and we just have access to it through our DNAs and our nerves. So when we do this work, it changes our antennas, it changes our DNA, changes our genetic modification, upregulation, downregulation of certain genes. And every time you give certain genes a break, and you're upregulating and downregulating certain genes, you are changing the way you communicate with the quantum. You're changing the way you would operate and manifest and heal. And same thing with nerves. They actually showed in the retreat that when you're doing a deep meditation, your nerves are changing in real time. They're creating new synaptic connections, and they're removing certain synaptic connections. That's what healing comes in. So when I healed my nerve damage in my right elbow from army, it healed instantly in one meditation. The only way that could have happened is certain nerves went away and certain nerves reconnected for my nerve damage to completely go away. So we are constantly changing these soft antennas that we have, which allows us to access things that we otherwise wouldn't have access to.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So you practically tell me, so to answer my question, how do I get rid of the blockage that might hold me back from manifesting? Don't even focus on the blockage in the first place.
Don't affirm it, don't focus on
Okay.
it. And when you do your breath work, when you do your deeper meditations, when you bless your energy centers, all of that is removing your blocks, all of that is healing you, and you're not focused on healing, you know, and it just happens. For example, someone that you want to do healing on wouldn't even know you're doing healing on them, and they will heal. How? They don't even have an intention of healing. But I can sit here and perform a coherence healing on them simply just looking at their picture, and somehow they heal. How? So not affirming, not paying attention to it, completely removing attention from it. And sometimes it'll just arise, but if you can somehow get good at creating a separation so you become an observer, not the feeler of it, because we're feelers, right? Whatever you feel, and generally from the heart, because heart feels, heart knows, and the brain thinks. And every time you feel something, it gives directions to your brain to do certain things, to do certain modifications. So for example, people that go to a 7-day retreat, 90% of attendees for a 7-day retreat have an 80% different brain. So their nerves change so dramatically. Now, you can reverse that if you stop doing the work suddenly, because every time you have a change in your nerves or change in your DNA, you have to utilize that in a constructive way, in a meaningful way, for those nerves to actually get thicker, solidify itself, and actually settle into your new state of being. So if you just leave the retreat and never meditate again, never do breath work again, and you just go back to your old personality, you will literally physically become your old personality. But if you continue to do the work, you will physically change. When I came back from my last retreat, I was hearing people tell me that I looked physically different. So the people's facial expressions change. So Dr. Hemlin Patel is doing a research where they look at people's physical expressive face and the words they use before they were healed and after they were healed. And there's dramatic changes to a point that they're about to prove that if you change the way you talk, AKA, if you insert certain words into your vocabulary, you will actually heal yourself.
Interesting.
Yes.
This is so interesting, and just touching on so many things I just came across. Have you heard that there's kind of like this notion that between the DNA, there's like space, like when you look at the different, I don't know how to explain this in English, but practically there's like space between like the letters in your DNA on both sides. And apparently what you do with when you get into certain states of being, you activate them with a bridge of light. So it's like very much a bridge of light, which activates also higher genes in your DNA, but that is, yeah, something I just came across. All right, can I ask a question?
We're almost entirely empty space, right? So obviously there's space between everything. And the more light you become, the more harmonized you are, the more highest frequency you have, the more your DNA can heal itself, change itself, upgrade itself. And it'll even expand the telomeres at the end of the DNA. The shoestrings at the end of the DNA will expand, reversing people's ages. It's wild. Go ahead.
Okay. So now I'm really excited to ask this because I commented this on the video of yours where you were talking about like the synchronicities that happen. I would like to ask you to share some of your experiences with the synchronicities that you experience, because it sounds in your videos as if you are so good at doing the work, so good at getting into the state of being. You just attract stuff, and I have that feeling that the best stuff you're not even sharing on YouTube, if I'm honest, because it's so wild. So would you like to share? I mean, you can just make this like a video for the Only You Mystical Being community, where literally, please just share one example that is so inspirational, that lifts us up to believe that we can do this same magic. Please. Please. Did you just mute yourself? Okay, no, fortunately not.
No, I said I'm going to have to think about what to share here.
I mean, The stage is all yours. You don't need to select one. You can share 100. That's fine by me. Okay, 5.
I'll think about it. I'm thinking of what to share, but we can
Okay.
ask me another question while I think about it.
Okay. What is coming through? I think I would actually really like to. How do you get to this state of being? I mean, obviously, everybody who's listening to that video at this point, who is listening because they have resistance to manifest. I mean, we're just thinking how to get to the point where David is, like that I can just align. So I don't know
How do you get
ask.
to a deeper state of being to experience the magic? So
Possibly.
see, most,
okay, thank you.
you know, we're so wired to always have this convergent, very narrow focused lives. You know, when people are like, watch your foot, watch your step, or watch out over there. So you're constantly just focusing and focusing and focusing, and you don't realize how to expand your awareness to be able to think and feel simply empty space, right? And it takes time. That takes time. So when people do Vipassana meditations, that is exactly what they're doing when they just sit for 10 hours in a day, right? They'll take breaks, come back, sit with their eyes closed, and literally just sit there. And there's something happens. There's this breakthrough point where you just completely get out of this one jar and you go into your astral body, or you get into the causal body, where, you know, some people, now this is very short-lived, but the better you get at, the more you meditate, the better you get at staying in the astral worlds, because you can go to astral worlds in meditations. You can go to astral worlds through mystical experiences. And I don't know what those worlds are called, but I've been there. And and it's always something,
like
it's always different places.
How are these worlds? How is the experience being in that state of being?
It was really strange. That world was so different. And because when the first time I went there, it was so wild that I was like a baby in a Disney World for the first time. And I was focusing on the little things and changes that I know don't exist here. So I was like, I've never been to a restroom that looks like that. Or I've been to this, and then there was this lady that just walked up to me, and I didn't know she was my wife. Apparently she was my wife. So, and she just grabs me and we go places, and I'm so surprised. And I was like, I should ask her what her name is. That'll be a very strange question. But anyway, I was there. People looked a little bit different. It was, I saw so much that, imagine you go to a world where the rocks, you see rocks, but they're soft and they can pop, or there's something, and then you see trees, but they're like half transparent and half not, and they don't look like trees, but you know they're somewhat like trees. And then you get a call from Earth and somebody's like, describe what this place is like, and you have no clue. And all you can do is pretend to compare it to the things that are on Earth, but they're not exactly like that. So you're misleading. No matter how you describe it, you're not doing justice, and you're wrong in describing it. So some of these worlds look like that, where I just get surprised. I'm like, how do I even describe this? You know, where
I'm just gonna jump in because it's actually my personality. Oh, okay, please continue. I'm gonna wait.
No, it's fine.
Okay, do you have that feeling that this astral realm is taking place, like location-wise, in space? Like in terms of, would you say it is on top of, let's say, the 3D world in the physical body, or is it like completely detached from saying this is happening simultaneously to this space? Like this kind of like a question I have, like this, because you still experienced space, you still were walking. Where was
so
it?
you're still in density, you know, you're still in density, but it's just the next form. So what I think those are the places where you go when you die. but you can't stay there for long if you haven't released your earthly, I don't know, things, karmas, whatever. So you sort of go back and forth between it until you just stay there forever. And you can visit those places in meditations. You can visit those places in mystical experiences. It's just a different dimension you just jump into, you can just move into. And
would you say it's just 4D or 5D? Like, is there like kind of like a correlation to say you just experience a higher dimension in that way? How does it feel to you?
how does it feel to be there?
No. Like, does it feel to you as if being in an astral body that you are no longer in 3D, but you literally stepped into one of the higher dimensions between 4 to 9 or 11, depending on how you...
Yeah.
Did you have the feeling that, because I think you had different experiences, and though you don't share some details, did you have that feeling that you had been to different dimensions and you simply know because of the experience that you have that it's like another, like, okay, this might be 4, this might be 5, this might be 6, like, do you have any kind of consciousness on in that way?
I don't know if I do. Because it's it doesn't feel any different than Earth, except you're in a completely new planet. You're on a completely new planet. And people are the same, but sometimes they're just a little bit different. And then when you get to a certain frequency, certain higher state of being, they will come visit you. You know, sometimes they wake me up at 3:30 and 4 o'clock. They'll just start making sounds and it'll wake me up. And then sometimes I just can't go back to sleep because there's somebody in my house. So, okay.
Could you go back to sleep if you consciously lowered your frequency? In terms of, would the noise disappear if you just lowered your frequency?
Well, if I'm sleeping and they wake me up, then I didn't control that, right? It just happened.
Fair point.
And the mystical experiences for me happens more often when I'm not meditating than when I am meditating. Because when I'm meditating, cool things happen. But then when mystical things happen, people can touch you, they can be with you, they can take you places, they can just grab you and just take you somewhere, throw you out right through the wall, just somewhere. And then you can just go, you can leave your body, just get up and you can look at your body laying down on the bed. And then you're like, okay, what do I do now? Do I just you just go do things. In one of the retreats, I just got out of my body and I went for a walk. And then I was wondering why am I the only one here? And then I remembered that my body is in the ballroom. Oh, we're supposed to meditate, and then boom, I'm back. For a very short period of time in some of the meditations where you can just become everything in the universe.
How do you get to that state, by the way? Like, I have not achieved that level yet to become.
Well, it's very spontaneous. A lot of the times when really wild things happen to you, they happen out of the blue, and you don't know how to control it. That takes, shamans, yogis, swamis, and they can, there's just, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And one day
you just plug into the right frequency and it's going to happen to you. So the only thing you do is you just plug into the right frequency, and the rest.
Yes. So when you get into what Yogananda calls super consciousness, you can connect with people in such a strange way that they don't need to talk to you anymore. You can just communicate with them from your mind to their mind. And sometimes if you connect with people and they're visualizing something, you can see what they're visualizing in their mind.
Have you personally been at that point already?
Which is crazy.
You have been, apparently. No.
What?
Have you been at that point that you were able to see what other people think of or visualize?
I wouldn't say if I'm visualizing and thinking, but for example, this is going to sound strange, but
Oh, I like it. Please go.
sometimes when I am talking to somebody, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm in the backyard, and I suddenly just start smelling jasmine. And I'm like, why does it smell like jasmine? And she freaked out. She's like, what? And she had just opened her lotion, jasmine lotion, and she was just rubbing it on her hands. And I was smelling it. So there's this connection that sometimes happens spontaneously. And if you get really good at it, you can control it, right? But when you get to that level where you can control it and see people's visualizations and thoughts, and you can transfer your thoughts to them, you are in such a desireless state that you are not going to just take advantage of it. You're in very blessed person, angel state where you only want to do this to help people if you need to help people, or if you want to send a message across the world, you can just do it.
Have you done it already? Have you sent to the?
Yes, I helped someone. They didn't. I had a friend of mine. She was having a really tough time opening her heart. Right, she was going to the retreats. She was doing all this stuff, and she was getting a little frustrated about this. She didn't know how to. So, and I just helped her did it. And it happened. I don't know. You know, it's really strange. The more crazy things I share with you, the less and less confident I am that I'm being accurate with my descriptions. You know?
Well, I think actually they are pretty much all aligned. Like, I've listened to crazy stuff myself, so you are doing great. You are doing great. This is not a scientific assessment.
So these things unlock. How do they unlock? What is the process? Not sure. I'm not sure I can smell people. Like, or if I'm talking to, if I play someone on YouTube, I can sometimes just smell their perfume. I don't know why.
Well,
and there was this one meditation I was doing where it was a being just comes and sits with me, and it's having fries.
Did you say it was having fries?
Fries. And it just took
like
one
human fries, or did it bring its own fries?
It just brought fries into the
okay,
ballroom.
Cool, sure.
I had a seat next to me free, and it just sat next to me, and he's just eating fries, looking at me. And I have blindfolds on, but of course, when you're watching, you're looking from your pineal gland, right? You're picking
that
up.
That being was watching you like a movie, was literally
yes,
sitting there
and
eating
this
fries,
being
watching you. What's this human
fries.
doing here?
And then it just takes one fry and puts it in my mouth. And I instantly tasted the fry, and I was like, wow, that was really salty. There was a lot of salt on it. and I just felt the fry, and I felt the taste so strong for so long. It was like 2 minutes. Like, it was annoying. I wanted a sip of water now because it was so salty. So I think there are these experiences that unfold, or you can consider it these superpowers that you unlock initially, are the things that you cannot control. This is why, shamans and swamis and yogis would recommend that you should have a guru that can help you with directing things, or having these conversations around managing stuff that unfolds with you through this work. That's why I'm so deep into research. I'm so deep into talking to people and doing more and more research on what else is possible. How do you control it? What does this mean? Why? How is this useful? So and the more you get into it, the more you unlock and realize how much more there is to know, how much more there is to explore, how much more there is to understand. And some of it doesn't make sense until you get to a certain point and everything just clicks. So sometimes I have most of my downloads in the mornings when I'm having coffee in my sunroom, and where I just quiet my mind, and I'm looking at the lake, and I'm looking at the trees and the birds and the rabbits that come out of the woods. And I'm just quiet, just observing everything. And I suddenly get so much clarity about the things that I have experienced, things that I think about, things that I read about. It just connects itself all together in a larger picture. It's as if the truth has just unfolded a couple more feet for me, a couple more feet for me. I think that's accurate. I think that's the right way to say it. Yeah.
Talking about some of the how information comes together and insight makes sense. I remember that in one of your videos at the end of the last retreat, you said you made a list of, I think, about 42 things you wanted to share with the community. But I think not all 42 have been so far incorporated. Would you like to share like the main, I don't know the word that you use, but the main takeaways or the main insights or the main things that you personally took from that experience?
I was referring to notes that I took. Let me see if I can find it.
I love this video, by the way. It's like this time loop of bringing all these loose ends from all these videos together in one conversation. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't sound that happy, but I'm happy.
I don't sound happy?
Didn't know.
No. I'm just not, my reactions are not that big because I'm not surprised with anything you said. I'm glad you're happy. So I think it's important. I like the questions because perhaps we're filling in some of the gaps that people might think about or be curious about when they watch some of the videos or watch some of the Q&As perhaps. So it might be fine, but I think some of the woo-woo stuff that I said doesn't matter. People can open their mind a little bit.
But we're gonna continue with the past lives later, right? You are quite aware of that. But sorry, I just jumped in. So
well, yeah,
we continue with the normal notes.
The things that you have done, the things you have experienced, the things you've learned, the evolution that you have acquired in one life, it doesn't just disappear into the ether. You take all that with you. Back to the source, Kiera. We're all going back to the source, right? And sometimes people are stuck at the bottom, but then you just go into these different layers of astral and then causal back to the source. And sometimes you can jump higher and experience what it's like to be everyone, everything, every time, all at once. It's quite wild. And sometimes it'll just happen for a second or two, but it will change you. You'll never be the same after because you have seen too, you know too much. You can't unsee that.
I feel that statement very much. So I figure you discovered the notes, right? Do you want to share?
I couldn't find it, but I will. I need to go through that. I've written them in a question form. I thought that I would make videos on them. I don't know why. I thought it was here, but it's. Okay, so we have all these questions. There's no point of sharing questions. Something to unfold. Yeah, I'll go through these. I'll figure out what to. Oh my God, there's 57 of them. Okay. Yeah, I need to figure out, prioritize these to see which ones are interesting and which ones we already covered here. And then perhaps we'll do a follow-up when I'm more.
Or we could just change. Okay, or we could just change the question towards, okay, what have been the notes that you took, which only have been questions, to what were the greatest insights that you personally took away from the last retreat?
Well, the biggest insight was that there's a chance that even if you're not a really good meditation person, you can simply change the way you look at yourself, change the way you speak about yourself in the world, and that alone will change your field, your genetic destiny. It will change the way your brain operates. It will cause some level of coherence in your mind. And when that happens, the communication with heart changes, allows you to have an easier heart-brain coherence. And magic happens when heart-brain coherence is achieved. That was one. I realized I need somebody to stand next to me, one of the volunteers, when I do breath work, definitely, so I won't hurt myself. That was a very interesting one. The breath work was a little bit too dramatic. Like I would just leave in 2 seconds and my body would just collapse. I did it on the floor a couple times, which was sudden. I've never done it on the floor until the retreat, but I had to sit on the floor for safety. Because the first time I fell, nobody saw me. The volunteers didn't see me. So my head is on a chair and my body's on the floor. And I was just stuck there. And when I came back, I was like, what? Where am I? And it takes time for you to plug back into your senses, plug back into your body. And when that happens, it still takes a bit of time for you to realize who you are. Because when you come back to your body, you don't know who you are yet. It takes a few seconds. And then you realize who you are. And the sounds that you were hearing where you went slowly go away as Dr. Joe comes back into your life. You can hear the ballroom now instead of where you were. When you leave your body, when you end up going places, travel places, it's spontaneous. You don't have any control over it. So you don't know where you ended up. So it takes time for you to realize where you went. Dr. Joe apparently once, he famously says that he was stuck between 2 cucumbers in a refrigerator. And it took him a while to figure out where he was. So you don't, so I'm not sure how long it takes for you to be able to control where you go, because you can, obviously. Yogananda's, the guru, what was his name? Sri Mahashaya or someone. But there are these people that can instantly go places and they can dematerialize their body and rematerialize somewhere else. They can just go instantly. So when you get to that level, you are very close to, or you have achieved Christ consciousness that cannot be achieved if you have any desires. Even if you have desires for experiences, you cannot. That'll be one step closer to it. So your causal body would be when you're extremely close to no desires at all, and of things and places or people. And then you have this one more step that you need to achieve before you blend back into source. And that one difference is that you even stop having desires for having any experiences. And then you blend into, when you blend into oneness, the I amness then disappears. You just go into and you become everything. So that is how Yogananda describes it. And actually that's how his guru described it, who came back to have a conversation with him after he died. But there's no such thing as death. So he just came back and materialized in the body. And he was able to hug him. He was able to touch him, which is mind-blowing, right? When you read about these accounts and you realize, oh my God, okay, I need to start telling people what is possible. And what is possible is insane. The things that are possible. I'll tell you another story. And then we'll call it, because I think we'll stop at an hour. There was an initiation that Babaji, who was one of the persons, I forgot his full name, but they call him Babaji. He came back, reappeared to do an initiation for Yogananda. So there was this ceremony they were going to do in some mountains. And in his honor of initiation, the Babaji materialized a palace that he walked into. And when he was looking at this palace, it just looked so unreal. He's like, was this always here? They're like, oh no, this is going to go away when we're done here. And they did the whole thing. They ate, they did the initiations. And then Babaji said, close your eyes. And when people closed their eyes and then they opened their eyes, the palace was gone and they were sitting in grass in the mountains. That doesn't even sound real. What does that mean? How do you do that?
All is an illusion, all is in the mind, and it's all about the power.
Yeah, everything is a dream, right? Yeah. So, I mean, if I don't know how many people have read that book, but if you read it as a sleepwalker, you just want to throw it away. But if you have had any beautiful experiences, any mystical experiences through the meditations, through Kriya, through Vipassana, any of these, you long for it, you're hungry for it. Because you have seen it, you have touched it, but you just don't know how to control it yet. You can't just on an instant just do it because you're not that familiar with your astral body yet.
Yeah.
So people that dream, they're dreaming in their astral body. People that don't dream and they're in deep sleep, no dream, just blackness, that is their causal body. So the dream, so when you sleep and you don't have a dream, you're getting a better sleep than if you are dreaming. Yeah, I think that's the way Yogananda's guru explained it. That if you're awake, you're in this body. When you're sleeping and you're dreaming, you're in astral body. And then when you're sleeping and you're not dreaming, you're getting the best sleep. You're in the causal body. You're actually nothing. You become nothing. So you sort of leave space-time, and that is the most rejuvenated sleep you can get.
Interesting. Well, you said we need to wrap up, but I really hope that we can come back to the one question regarding one of the synchronicities you would like to share. Some of the nicest synchronicities they haven't shared yet, which you would like to share. Please just inspire us what is possible, what you already made possible. Please.
I thought I don't know if I have expressed it. I might have mentioned a couple, but okay, so this is so strange. This is so strange to explain, but I didn't like that it was really hot outside this one day, okay? And I came back and I dropped Zoya at school and I was making coffee and I said, I'm going to go out there with my coffee and I'm going to enjoy it and it's going to be nice. Just stop annoying yourself with it. And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't know how, but I have changed weather so many times that it's bizarre to me.
Sorry, that's really unexpected. Okay, please continue.
That I just made coffee and I just emptied my mind, which is one of the beautiful, enjoyable state of mind I can be in. It's completely empty, right? And then I took the coffee outside, and suddenly it became very cloudy, and this cool breeze came to me. There were no clouds; it just showed up. And then when I came back inside, because I had some meetings, and I was just thinking about this, right? Because I was in such an awe of it. And I'm doing this meeting and I look back and it's just blue sky, sunny and hot again out there. Same thing happened with me. I don't know how to describe this. So I opened the door in the morning and it was pouring rain, right? And I closed the door. I ran back, grabbed my keys. I was like, doesn't matter. We're going to dance in the rain, I guess. I opened the door, no rain. I was like, what? So anyway, those are coincidences that can happen spontaneously too. So I won't take any credit for that. But I had this one very big challenge at work that I didn't know how to solve for it. And things broke down and I didn't know what I was going to do about it. And I went to the pool and I just sat there and I just did a box meditation. So box meditation is very sacred to me. I only do it when I really need it. And I came back home and that problem was gone. The meeting was canceled. I reached out to them and I said, what happened? They're like, oh, it's working. All good. How? I won't share the detail because this is going to go on YouTube. But I have solved problems and it always takes less than 5 minutes, just happens.
How do you get to that state? Like, I think a question that I have is regarding, because I think the key with the box meditation is to get into the state where the problem no longer exists, right? That's like, is that the key? And how do you, like, I think I'm way too much in my head. I think this question should not even
I
exist,
think
but I feel.
I think the how, I would say how is none of our business. What is our business? What do you want? So somebody asked Abraham Hicks once, what is one of the questions that you wish somebody would ask you, but nobody asks you? And what is the answer to that question? And she said, nobody ever asks me, is it possible to be happy all the time? And the answer is yes. So if you only affirm what you want to feel, and if you only affirm what you would like to have, so she has a friend, Abraham Hicks has a friend who just goes around the world and says, and if she sees anything that she would like to have, she'll be like, I'll take that. And she just keeps on moving in her life. And somehow, because she picked it, and then she just affirmed it, and she just let it go, and she moved on with her life, somehow that thing ends up being in her life. When, how, none of her business, because it will come with the divine time. And secondly, because she picks a lot of things, it would be a bad day if it all showed up on the same day, right? So she just
I like
picks
that one
it,
actually.
lets the divine bring it in her life the way it
Right.
wants,
I do.
and with the divine timing. So I think, and the moment you feel anything that you don't want, I tell people to use the word stop, use the word change, or you can simply say, I don't want that, and simply just distract yourself.
I don't want that.
And just move on with your life. I don't like it, I don't want it. And then you just move on with it. Don't attach yourself to it, because we attract what we love and we attract what we fear. We attract what makes us anxious. You know, for example, I'll give you one last example before we go. Sometimes if you are anxious about something, if you're fearful about something, if you're upset or angry about something, people around you will spontaneously be inspired to annoy you. It'll just happen out of nowhere.
That is such a euphemistic way to phrase it.
Something about you will upset them, and they'll lash out on you. And they might be surprised that they're lashed out. They might be disappointed at themselves. But if you were to truly ask them, they'll be like, I don't know what came over me. I was just inspired to give you what you don't want.
That's actually a really nice one. I love that. Thank you so much. And I know you need to get going. Thank you for sharing this. And just maybe as a last note, you don't need to share this here, because now you need to get going. I actually noticed that with the little people I've had contact with in your community, like including you, there's at least 2 more people who lost their spouses. And I had that feeling it might be actually inspirational for, because there might be actually more people to maybe hear how you transmuted this into like this grace and wisdom and love that you experience right now. Because I think there's a lot of people who are still not there yet and who might be really inspired by how you can transmute it. Just wanted to share this because I discovered that. It's quite interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Talk to you soon. Bye.